Kang sat in his private office aboard the space station Nexus 7. His 4 arms were busy. 2 arms tapped on screens, one held a drink, and one played with a small golden coin. The coin was from Earth, a place Kang had visited only twice. Humans were strange to him, but their money was pretty. Kang was a Vix, an alien with scaly skin that shined like metal in the light. His kind lived for hundreds of years, and Kang had spent most of his 300 years selling weapons. He was very good at it. Today, he waited for an important client. The door slid open with a soft hiss. A tall insect-like alien walked in. This was Tul Baksin, leader of the Hector resistance. "You are late," Kang said, but he was not angry. He just liked to remind others that his time was valuable. Tul Baksin's antenna twitched. "The Meridian patrols are increasing. Travel is difficult." Kang nodded and waved to a chair. "Sit. Tell me what you need." The insect alien sat down carefully. His hard outer shell made a scraping sound against the metal chair. "The Meridians have taken 3 more of our worlds. They bring new ships with shields we cannot break. Our weapons do nothing." "Quantum shields," Kang said, nodding. He had heard about this. The Meridian Empire was using new technology that made their ships nearly impossible to damage. Very expensive, very effective. "We need weapons that can defeat these shields," Tul Baksin said. His voice had a clicking sound between words. "Without this, we will lose everything." Kang took a sip from his drink. The liquid was thick and purple. "I might have something," he said slowly. He enjoyed making clients wait. It made them willing to pay more. "What kind of weapon?" Tul Baksin leaned forward, his compound eyes reflecting the room's lights in hundreds of tiny dots. "Something new. Something the Meridians have never faced." Kang put down his drink and used his free hand to pull up a file on his screen. He didn't show it to Tul Baksin. "It can disable their shields completely." The insect's mandibles clicked rapidly. This was a sign of excitement. How many ships can it affect? An entire fleet, if used correctly. Kang wasn't lying, but he wasn't telling the whole truth either. That was how he did business. "How much?" Tul Baksin asked. 10 million credits, Kang said. The insect stood up quickly. "Impossible. The resistance cannot pay such a price." Kang shrugged with all 4 shoulders. "Then the resistance will lose. The Meridians will take your planets. Your people will serve them forever." Tul Baksin paced the room. His feet made soft tapping sounds on the floor. 8 million, he said finally. 9, Kang countered. 8.5. Kang pretended to think about it. He had already decided to accept 8 million before the meeting started. Anything more was just extra profit. 8.5, plus mining rights to the eastern asteroid belt when you win the war, Kang said. Tul Baksin stopped pacing. "When we win, you are that confident?" Kang smiled, showing rows of small, sharp teeth. "With what I'm sending you, yes." The insect alien thought for a moment, then nodded. "Agreed." Kang stood and extended his upper right hand. They shook in the human style, which had become common for business deals across the galaxy. "Payment will be half now, half upon delivery," Kang said. Tul Baksin reached into a pouch on his side and pulled out a small data chip. 4 million credits, as agreed. "When will you deliver?" 2 standard weeks, Kang said, taking the chip. "I need to arrange special transport." After Tul Baksin left, Kang locked his office door and made a call. The screen lit up, showing the human woman. She had black hair cut short and wore a plain gray uniform. "Captain Ju," Kang said, "I have a job for you." The woman nodded. "We've been expecting your call. What's the target?" "Meridian quantum shields. The Hector resistance needs to disable them." Captain Ju's face showed no emotion. "My brother is available. Standard rates apply. 8.5 million credits, half on delivery," Kang said. "We'll take 3 million. You can keep the rest." The human smiled slightly. We know you're charging them more. Kang laughed. Of course I am. That's business. We'll be at the usual meeting place in 2 weeks, Captain Ju said. Is there anything else? No. Just make sure your brother is prepared for a long assignment. The Hector Meridian War won't end quickly. The call ended, and Kang leaned back in his chair. Humans were still new to the galactic community. Most species didn't think much of them. They weren't the strongest, the fastest, or the most technologically advanced. But they had other qualities that made them valuable. Qualities that Kang had learned to profit from. 2 weeks later, Kang stood on the surface of a small airless moon. His ship, the Profitable Venture, was parked nearby. He wore a pressure suit that accommodated his 4 arms and large head. The suit was expensive and custom-made, like everything Kang owned. A small ship appeared in the sky, growing larger as it approached. It was a standard human transport vessel, nothing special to look at. It landed a short distance away, kicking up dust that settled quickly in the low gravity. The ship's ramp lowered, and Captain Ju walked out, also wearing a pressure suit. She waved to Kang and spoke through the suit's communication system. Right on time, as promised, she said. Kang nodded. Where is the weapon? He's coming. Captain Ju pointed to the ship. A second figure emerged from the ship. This was another human, male, of average height and build. His pressure suit was simple and showed no special features. This is my brother, Sung, Captain Ju said. As requested. Kang stared at the human male, then back at Captain Ju. Where are the weapons? He asked again. Captain Ju placed her hand on her brother's shoulder. This is the weapon, Kang. This is what you're paying for. Kang's inner eyelids blinked rapidly in confusion. A human. You expect me to deliver a single human to the Hector resistance. They need weapons to defeat Meridian quantum shields. And they'll get it. Sung spoke for the first time. His voice was calm and quiet. I can disable their shields. Impossible. Kang said. No one can disable quantum shields without massive equipment. They're based on subspace technology. Captain Ju sighed. Perhaps a demonstration would help. We brought a small Meridian drone with active shields. It's in our cargo hold. Kang followed them into their ship. In the cargo area, a spherical object about 1 meter wide floated in a containment field. It glowed with the distinctive blue light of Meridian quantum shielding. This is genuine Meridian technology, Captain Ju said. Try to touch it. Kang extended one hand toward the drone. His fingers hit an invisible barrier about 10 centimeters from the surface. The shield rippled with blue energy where he touched it. Now watch, Captain Ju said. She nodded to her brother. Sung stepped forward and closed his eyes. He raised his hands toward the drone, but didn't touch the shield. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the blue glow began to flicker. The even pattern of energy became wavy, like disturbed water. Small gaps appeared in the field, then larger ones. 30 seconds later, the shield collapsed completely. The blue glow disappeared. Kang stared in shocked silence. Humans evolved on a planet with unusual electromagnetic properties, Captain Ju explained. Some of us developed the ability to sense and manipulate energy fields. My brother is exceptionally talented. Sung opened his eyes. He looked tired but otherwise fine. The Meridian quantum shields are just energy patterns, complex ones, but still patterns. I can disrupt them. One human, Kang said quietly, against an entire Meridian fleet. One is all they need, Captain Ju said. The Meridians rely completely on their shields. Without them, their ships are vulnerable to conventional weapons. Kang's business mind quickly calculated the possibilities. If this worked, the Hector would pay the rest of his fee. If it didn't, well, he already had half the money, and the humans would take the blame for failure, not him. Very well, Kang said finally. We leave for the Hector base tomorrow. Be ready. As he walked back to his ship, Kang couldn't help feeling uneasy. In 300 years of selling weapons, He had never delivered anything like this before. A living weapon. A human weapon. The galaxy was changing, and Kang wasn't sure if he liked it. The next day, Kang's ship flew toward the main base of the Hector Resistance. The human siblings, Zhu and Sung, sat quietly in the passenger area. Kang watched them from his pilot's seat. He still had doubts about bringing a single human as the weapon he had promised. "We are approaching Hector space," Kang announced. "Their patrols will stop us soon." Captain Zhu nodded. "Will there be any problems?" "No, they are expecting us." Kang turned his ship slightly to avoid a field of asteroids. "But they are expecting weapons. Big weapons, not a human." Sung smiled. "They will be surprised." "Yes," Kang said with a frown. "And angry, perhaps. Angry customers are bad for business." A light flashed on Kang's control panel. A Hector patrol ship was calling them. Kang answered the call, and a screen lit up showing an insect face similar to Tolbaxin's. "Identify yourself," the Hector soldier clicked. "I am Kang, weapons dealer. I have a delivery for Commander Tolbaxin." The insect's antenna moved slightly. "You are expected. Follow us to the base." 2 patrol ships appeared and guided Kang's vessel through a hidden path in the asteroid field. Soon, a large asteroid came into view. Unlike the others, this one had lights and structures built into its surface. It was the hidden base of the Hector Resistance. Kang landed his ship in a large cave that served as a hangar. Many Hector soldiers stood waiting, their hard exoskeletons painted with battle marks. Tolbaxin was at the front of the group. "Time to earn your payment," Kang whispered to the humans as they prepared to exit the ship. Kang walked down the ramp first, raising all 4 hands in greeting. "Commander Tolbaxin, I have brought what you requested." The insect commander stepped forward. "Where are the weapons, Kang?" "My scouts report that you brought no cargo containers." "Ah, yes." Kang moved aside to reveal the 2 humans walking down the ramp behind him. "This is what I have brought." The hangar became very quiet. Then all the Hector began clicking their mandibles at once, a sound that humans might compare to angry laughter. "Is this a joke?" Tolbaxin's voice was cold with anger. 2 soft-skinned primates. "Where are the weapons that can defeat Meridian shields?" Captain Zhu stepped forward. "I am Captain Zhu. This is my brother, Sung. He is the weapon you have paid for." The clicking grew louder. Some Hector soldiers reached for their weapons. "Wait," Kang raised all 4 hands again. "Let them show you. Bring a shielded device, something with Meridian quantum shielding." Tolbaxin's compound eyes stared at Kang for a long moment. Finally, he turned to one of his officers. "Bring the captured probe." Minutes later, a team of Hector soldiers wheeled in a Meridian device. It was larger than the drone on the human ship, almost the size of a small car. The blue glow of its quantum shield was bright in the dim hangar. "This is a Meridian scout probe we captured last month," Tolbaxin explained. "We cannot penetrate its shields to study the technology inside. Our strongest weapons barely make the shield flicker." Sung walked toward the probe. The Hector soldiers moved back, uncertain what the human planned to do. "May I?" Sung asked, looking at Tolbaxin. The commander waved one clawed hand. "Try whatever you wish. The shield cannot be broken." Sung stood before the probe. Like before, he closed his eyes and raised his hands. The hangar grew quiet again as everyone watched. At first, nothing happened. The blue shield continued to glow steadily. A few Hector began to click softly, the beginning of more mockery. Then the shield rippled. The smooth blue surface developed waves and ripples, like water disturbed by wind. The ripples grew larger. Gaps appeared in the shield, small at first, then bigger. Sweat formed on Sung's forehead. His breathing became deeper and more controlled. His hands trembled slightly. The shield flickered once, twice, then collapsed completely. The blue glow vanished. The probe sat unprotected on the hangar floor. Sung lowered his hands and opened his eyes. He looked tired but satisfied. Complete silence filled the hangar. Even Kang, who had seen this before, was impressed by how quickly Sung had disabled the shield. It had taken half the time compared to the small drone. Tolbacksin stepped forward slowly. He reached out one claw and touched the surface of the probe. Nothing stopped him. The shield was truly gone. "How did you do this?" the commander asked, his voice quieter now. Captain Ju answered, "My brother can sense and disrupt energy patterns. The Meridian quantum shields are just complex energy patterns. He can break them." "Can you do this to a Meridian battleship?" Tolbacksin asked Sung directly. "Yes," Sung replied. "The size doesn't matter. The shield technology is the same." Tolbacksin turned to his officers. "Bring the data from our scouts. Show them the Meridian fleet positions." They moved to a large room filled with maps and screens. One screen showed the positions of Meridian ships around a nearby planet. "The Meridians have 15 warships in this system," Tolbacksin explained. 5 are protecting their main base on our homeworld. Can you disable all their shields?" "Not all at once," Sung said honestly, "but one after another, yes. I will need to be within a certain range, but outside their weapons range." "How close?" asked a Hector officer. "About half the distance of their main weapons," Captain Ju answered. "We will need a fast, small ship, something that can get close enough for Sung to work, but can escape quickly if detected." Tolbacksin clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "We have such ships, scout vessels designed for speed." "Then we have a plan," Kang said, rubbing his upper hands together. "Sung disables the shields. Your forces attack the unprotected ships." The insect commander studied the human siblings carefully. "If this works, the Resistance will owe you a great debt." "The Resistance will owe Kang the rest of his payment," the arms dealer corrected quickly. "As agreed." Tolbacksin nodded. "Of course. But first, we must test this in actual battle." "When?" asked Captain Ju. "Tomorrow," the commander decided. "The Meridians are rotating their fleet. 3 ships will break formation to return to their main base. We will intercept them." As the Hector officers began planning the attack, Kang pulled the human siblings aside. "You did not tell me your brother's power would work so quickly," he whispered. "This is even better than I hoped." Captain Ju smiled. "Sung has been practicing. The Meridian shield pattern is becoming familiar to him." "Good," Kang nodded. "Very good. But be careful tomorrow. If you fail in battle, the Hector may not be understanding." "We won't fail," Sung said quietly. That night, the humans were given quarters on the base. Kang returned to his ship to sleep, as was his custom. He always preferred to have a quick escape route available. As he prepared for bed, Kang thought about the day's events. In all his years of weapons dealing, he had never sold anything like Sung before. A living weapon, a human weapon. The idea both excited and troubled him. If Sung succeeded tomorrow, word would spread. Other resistance groups and armies would seek similar weapons. Other humans with special abilities. It could be the start of a very profitable new business. But it also meant that humans would gain a new reputation in the galaxy. No longer just another species of weak primates, but something more, something potentially dangerous. Kang tried to push these thoughts away as he drifted off to sleep. Tomorrow would be an important day. Either his gamble would pay off with profit and prestige, or it would end in disaster. Either way, the galaxy might never be the same again. Morning came quickly on the asteroid base. Kang woke to the sound of his ship's alarm. Someone was trying to enter without permission. He checked the security screen and saw Captain Ju standing at the entrance ramp. Kang pressed a button to let her in. "It is very early," he said with a yawn that showed his many sharp teeth. "The Hector scouts have reported," Captain Ju said. She looked like she had been awake for hours. 3 Meridian ships will pass near this asteroid field in 2 hours. Commander Tolbacksin is preparing the attack. Kang nodded and began to dress. "Where is your brother?" "Sung is meditating. He needs to focus his mind before the battle." "Meditating?" Kang asked. Is this some human religious practice? Captain Ju shook her head. It helps him control his abilities. The more focused his mind, the stronger his effect on the shields. They walked together to the command center of the base. The large room was filled with Hector soldiers, all busy preparing for battle. Maps and screens showed the asteroid field and the expected path of the Meridian ships. Tul Baksin stood in the center, giving orders. He noticed Kang and Captain Ju entering. Good, you are here. Where is the human weapon? My brother is preparing, Captain Ju said. He will be ready when needed. The insect commander nodded. Our plan is simple. 3 of our fastest scout ships will approach the Meridian vessels. 1 will carry your brother. Once he disables the shields of the first ship, our main attack force will strike. What if he cannot disable the shields? Kang asked. He always considered all possibilities, especially the bad ones. Tul Baksin's mandibles clicked. Then we will all die, and you will not receive the rest of your payment. A fair arrangement, Kang said with a nervous laugh. An hour later, they gathered in the hangar. 3 small, sleek ships were ready to launch. Each had a pilot and room for 1 passenger. Sung had arrived, looking calm and rested. You will go in the lead ship, Tul Baksin told Sung. The pilot is our best. He will get you close enough to use your power, but not so close that the Meridians can capture you. Sung nodded. I understand. Captain Ju stepped forward. I should go with him. There is no room, the commander said. The scout ships are built for speed, not comfort. Then I will go in another ship, she insisted. My brother works better when I am nearby. Tul Baksin looked at Kang, who shrugged all 4 shoulders. Let her go. If it helps the human weapon work better, it is worth it. Very well, the commander agreed. You will go in the second ship. Kang watched as the humans prepared to board the small ships. He felt strangely worried. If they failed, he would lose his payment. But there was something else, something he didn't quite understand. Be careful, he told them. The Meridians are not kind to prisoners. Captain Ju looked surprised. Are you concerned for us, Kang? That's unlike you. I am concerned for my payment, Kang said quickly. Nothing more. Sung smiled. We will succeed. The Meridians will not know what hit them. The scout ships launched from the asteroid base, flying silently into the darkness of space. Kang watched from a window in the command center. Tul Baksin stood beside him, his compound eyes fixed on the screen showing the ship's positions. Now we wait, the commander said. Now we wait, Kang agreed. Waiting was the worst part of any business deal. Sung sat in the small scout ship, watching the stars through the front window. The Hector pilot did not speak to him, focusing only on flying the ship. That was fine with Sung. He needed to concentrate. He closed his eyes and began his breathing exercises. In his mind, he pictured the Meridian quantum shields, how they looked, how they felt when he pushed against them with his mind. Each shield had a pattern, like a song with many notes. If he could find the wrong note, the song would fall apart. The ship's communication system crackled. Meridian vessels detected, the pilot announced. 3 warships, traveling at standard speed. They do not know we are here. Sung opened his eyes. How close can you get me? Close enough, the pilot clicked. Hold tight. The scout ship accelerated, darting between asteroids. The other 2 ships followed, keeping in formation. Through the window, some could see 3 large shapes growing bigger. The Meridian warships were massive compared to their small scouts. They have detected us, the pilot said suddenly. They are changing course. The scout ships flew faster, racing to get within range before the Meridians could escape or attack. Some could now see the blue glow of the quantum shield surrounding the enemy ships. This is close enough, Sung said. Hold this position. The pilot pressed some buttons, and the ship slowed to a stop, hidden behind a small asteroid. The other scout ships did the same. The main Hector attack force is ready, the pilot reported. They wait for your signal. Sung took a deep breath and focused on the nearest Meridian ship. He could feel its shield, a complex energy pattern pulsing in the distance. He raised his hands and closed his eyes. In his mind, he reached out toward the shield. At first, it resisted, the pattern strong and stable. Some pushed harder, searching for weaknesses. There, a small fluctuation in the pattern. He concentrated on that spot, pushing and pulling at the energy. The shield began to waver. Some could feel it weakening, the pattern becoming confused. Sweat formed on his forehead as he pushed harder. Suddenly, the pattern broke. The shield collapsed, leaving the Meridian ship exposed. First shield down. The pilot shouted into the communication system. Immediately, the main Hector attack force appeared from behind a large asteroid. 5 warships fired all their weapons at the unprotected Meridian vessel. Without its shield, the ship took heavy damage. Explosions blossomed along its hull. The other 2 Meridian ships turned to attack the Hector force. Their weapons began to fire, but they kept their distance, not wanting to suffer the same fate as their companion. "Move closer to the second ship," Sung told the pilot. "I need to disable its shield too." The scout ship darted forward, weaving between weapon fire. Sung could see his sister's ship following close behind. Knowing she was near gave him strength. The second Meridian ship noticed them and turned to attack. Bright energy beams cut through space, narrowly missing their small vessel. "Hold steady," Sung said, though his heart was pounding. He focused on the second ship's shield, finding its pattern. This one was different, stronger, but the basic structure was the same. Again, he pushed against the energy, seeking weaknesses. It was harder this time. The ship was moving, the pattern shifting. Sung's head began to hurt, a sharp pain behind his eyes. But he kept pushing. The shield wavered, rippled, then suddenly collapsed like the first one. "Second shield down," the pilot reported. The Hector attack force immediately targeted the second ship. More explosions, more damage. The third Meridian vessel began to retreat, realizing the danger. "We must stop the third ship," the pilot said. "If it escapes, it will warn the Meridian fleet about our new weapon." Sung nodded, though he felt extremely tired. Disabling 2 shields so quickly had drained him, but he had to try one more. Their scout ship raced after the fleeing Meridian vessel. The third shield was the strongest yet, or perhaps Sung was simply too exhausted. He struggled to find the pattern, to make sense of the energy. "I need help," he said quietly. As if in answer, the second scout ship appeared beside them. Through the window, Sung could see his sister. She placed her hand on the glass, looking at him. Though they couldn't speak, Sung felt her support. With renewed energy, he focused again on the shield. This time, the pattern became clear. He found the weakness and pushed hard. The third shield flickered, held for a moment, then collapsed like the others. "All shields down," the pilot announced triumphantly. The Hector forces swarmed the defenseless Meridian ships. One by one, the enemy vessels were disabled or destroyed. Not a single Meridian escaped to warn their fleet. The battle was over. The Hector had won. As they flew back to the asteroid base, Sung finally allowed himself to relax. His head still hurt, and his body felt weak, but they had succeeded. The Hector resistance now had a weapon against the Meridian quantum shields. And the galaxy had just learned something new about humans. News of the battle spread quickly through the Hector resistance. 3 Meridian warships defeated. For the first time in years, the insect aliens had hope. Their enemy was not invincible after all. Kang stood in Commander Tolbaksin's office, watching as the insect leader paced back and forth. The arms dealer was trying not to look too pleased with himself, but his inner eyelids kept blinking rapidly. A sign of happiness in Vix. "The human's power worked even better than expected," Tolbaksin said. His voice was filled with excitement, making his mandibles click faster than normal. 3 shields disabled in one battle. "As I promised," Kang said, running a hand over his scaly head. "The weapon I delivered was worth every credit." The door opened, and Captain Ju entered with her brother. Sung looked tired but happy. Using his power 3 times in quick succession had drained him, but after a good meal and rest, he was recovering well. The heroes of the hour. Tolbacksin greeted them. Your success has changed everything for the resistance. Captain Ju nodded politely. My brother is glad to help, but we should talk about the next steps. The Meridians will be confused now, but soon they will realize what happened. Yes, the commander agreed. They will not understand how their shields failed, but they will increase their patrols and defenses. Which means we must strike again quickly, Kang said, before they can adjust. Tolbacksin walked to a large screen on the wall and activated it. A map appeared, showing the main Meridian base on the Hector homeworld. This is our true target, the commander said, pointing with a claw. The Meridians have made this their command center. 5 of their largest warships protected, all with quantum shields. Sung studied the map. 5 ships at once will be difficult. I will need time between each shield. How much time? Tolbacksin asked. A few minutes, Captain Ju answered for her brother. And he will need to be closer for these larger ships. The commander clicked thoughtfully. We could create a distraction. Draw some ships away from the main base, then attack with our full force. They spent hours making plans. Kang mostly listened, occasionally making suggestions. He was impressed by the human siblings. They were smart and brave, good qualities in any species. As the meeting ended, Tolbacksin turned to Kang. The rest of your payment will be transferred after the final battle. If we win, you will also receive the mining rights we discussed. Kang nodded. A fair arrangement. He glanced at the humans. And their safety. You will protect them during the attack. The commander's compound eyes studied Kang carefully. You seem concerned about them. I thought you only cared about profit. They are valuable assets, Kang said quickly. It would be bad business to lose them. Captain Ju smiled slightly. We can take care of ourselves, Kang. But thank you for your concern. Back on his ship, Kang found himself thinking about the upcoming battle. Normally, he would deliver weapons and leave immediately. He never stayed to see how they were used. It was safer that way. But this time was different. He wanted to see what happened. He wanted to see if the humans would succeed again. 3 days later, the Hector fleet gathered near the edge of their home system. 30 ships of various sizes, the largest force the Resistance had ever assembled. In the middle was a small scout ship carrying Sung and Captain Ju. Kang had decided to join them, much to everyone's surprise. I want to see my investment in action, he told Tolbacksin. But the truth was more complicated. Kang wasn't sure why he wanted to stay. The plan was simple but dangerous. A small group of Hector ships would attack a Meridian outpost, drawing away some of the warships protecting the main base. Then, Sung would disable the shields of the remaining ships one by one, allowing the main Hector force to attack. All ships ready. Tolbacksin's voice came through the communication system. The commander was leading the main attack force. Begin operation. The first group of Hector ships jumped to the outpost location. Minutes later, reports came back. 2 Meridian warships had left the main base to respond. That left 3 still protecting the base. Good news, Kang said to the human siblings. Fewer shields for you to disable. Sung nodded but said nothing. He was preparing himself, going through his mental exercises. Captain Ju sat beside him, occasionally touching his shoulder in support. Their small ship, along with 5 others, moved closer to the Meridian base. They stayed hidden behind the planet's largest moon, watching and waiting. The 2 warships have engaged our forces at the outpost, the pilot reported. It's time to move. The scout ships left their hiding place and raced toward the Meridian base. As they approached, they could see the 3 massive warships in orbit, their quantum shields glowing blue against the darkness of space. Get me as close as possible to the first ship, Sung said to the pilot. The scout ship darted forward, staying just outside the range of the Meridian weapons. Sung closed his eyes and raised his hands. By now, Kang knew this meant he was using his power. Minutes passed in tense silence. The blue shield around the nearest Meridian warship began to ripple and wave. Sung's breathing became deeper, and sweat formed on his forehead. "He's doing it," Captain Ju whispered. Suddenly, the shield collapsed. The warship was exposed. "First shield down," the pilot announced to the fleet. Immediately, the main Hector force appeared from behind the moon. They fired all weapons at the unprotected ship. Explosions blossomed across its hull. The other two Meridian ships turned to attack, but they had to keep their distance or risk losing their shields too. "Move to the second ship," Sung said, his voice tired but determined. Their scout ship flew toward the next target. Again, Sung focused his power. This shield took longer to fail, but eventually, it collapsed like the first. Second shield down. The Hector forces split, half attacking the second ship, while the rest continued to battle the first. Both Meridian vessels were taking heavy damage. But Sung was struggling now. Using his power twice in quick succession had drained him. When they approached the third ship, he could barely sit upright. "I don't know if I can do another," he admitted to his sister. Captain Ju took his hand. "You can. Remember what we learned back home. Draw strength from connection." She placed her other hand on his forehead. Something passed between them, some energy or power that Kang couldn't understand. Sung's breathing steadied, and he sat up straighter. With renewed focus, he turned his attention to the third and largest Meridian warship. Its shield was the strongest yet, a complex pattern of energy that resisted his efforts. Minutes passed. The battle raged around them. The first two Meridian ships were nearly destroyed, but the third was still firing, still dangerous. Kang watched in amazement as Sung pushed himself beyond what seemed possible. The human's face was pale, his body trembling with effort, but he didn't give up. Finally, the third shield began to fail. It flickered, dimmed, and collapsed. "All shields down." The pilot's voice was jubilant. The entire Hector fleet converged on the final Meridian warship. Without its shield, it could not withstand such an attack. Within minutes, the ship was crippled. "We've done it," Captain Ju said, supporting her exhausted brother. "The Meridian base is defenseless." The Hector forces landed on the planet's surface, reclaiming their homeworld. The Meridian commanders, shocked by their defeat, surrendered quickly. Without their quantum shields, they had lost their greatest advantage. 2 days later, Kang stood with the human siblings as Tolbackson formally thanked them in front of the entire resistance. "The Meridians have agreed to leave our system," the commander announced. "For the first time in 10 years, Hector is free." The crowd of insect aliens clicked and hummed with joy. Many came forward to touch Sung's hand or shoulder, a sign of great respect in their culture. "Your payment has been transferred," Tolbackson told Kang, "including the mining rights we discussed." Kang nodded. But for once, profit wasn't the first thing on his mind. He was watching the humans, how they accepted the gratitude of the Hector with humility and grace. Later, as they prepared to leave, Kang approached the siblings on their ship. "I have other clients who might need your special services," he said. "We could continue our arrangement." Captain Ju looked at her brother, who nodded slightly. "We would consider it," she said, "under the right circumstances." Good, Kang said, rubbing his upper hands together. This could be the start of a very profitable partnership. As he turned to leave, Captain Ju called after him. "Kang, I'm curious. Why did you stay for the battle? You could have taken your payment and left." The arms dealer paused. It was a good question. Why had he stayed? "I wanted to see what would happen," he said finally. "In 300 years of selling weapons, I've never seen anything like you humans." Sung smiled. "We're full of surprises." "Yes," Kang agreed. "And the galaxy should prepare for more surprises in the future, I think." As Kang walked back to his own ship, he thought about how quickly things had changed. One human had defeated the mighty Meridian Empire. One human had done what advanced weapons could not. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. And Kang would never look at his business the same way either. Sometimes, the most powerful weapons came in the most unexpected packages.